He's God, bro.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, and yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Shouts out to everybody tuning into the State of the Saints podcast. Let's go ahead and get some of the church announcements out of the way, all right? We are really, really close to hitting 10,000 subscribers. I think the last time I checked was about 75 subscribers away from 10,000 subscribers. So if you're checking out the State of the Saints podcast and you have not hit that subscription button, I ask that you subscribe to the channel. I ask that you hit that like button. Make sure that you show love to the State of the Saints podcast. We are growing and we are on a mission right now, man. We're out here trying to put out the best content possible. Thank you all so much for supporting that content and continue to support it. And for those that have not, you can support by once again hitting subscribe and hitting that like button. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Saints training camp. Let's talk about some of the stories coming out of today's camp. If you're checking out this podcast on a Tuesday, all right, Tuesday's practice, it was another padded practice. But it was hot, just like all the other days at Saints camp. All right, it was hot out there. So what Dennis Allen did, Dennis Allen said, oh, no, we going indoors today. It was one of the hottest days of camp, according to Erik McCoy, who we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show. But, you know, it was a good thing that they decided to go inside. You know, I think Dennis Allen has set the tone, allowing these guys to go out there and try to battle it out in that heat and teach them a little bit about adversity. Once again, it's hot in New Orleans. For those that may not be from the city, may not be from the boot, just like me, you know what I'm saying? For those that are out there in Louisiana, but those that don't, it's hot, right? It's always like 100% humidity in the summertime. And then it's August too. My goodness. But they went inside and they had a good productive practice. There was some good storylines. Of course, the one that everybody has been talking about has been Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas, for the last 2.5 seasons, has been dealing with injuries. We all know about the warpath that he was on before the injury, but Michael Thomas is trying to get back to form. He is trying to get back to the normal that we all know and he knows as well. And, you know, the question on everybody's mind is, it's not about what he's doing at training camp. He's beasting like he always does. But the question is Mike T 100%? And that's exactly what the media asked Can't Guard Mike.
I don't really know what your 100% is. I'm always chasing perfection and trying to, win every rep. I'm a competitor. I don't prepare to lose. I prepare to execute and make the play. So it's a process. It's a learning process. But the good thing about the Saints, we have a lot of great competition on the other side of the ball. So I feel like it won't take long. But you got to get in the groove. You got to get some things down. But with the coaching and the players I'm surrounded by, I'm not really worried. I'm just taking it one day at a time.
We all know the type of competitor that Michael Thomas is. I have an appreciation for it because I'm a competitor. I may not seem like it, but I'm a competitor. I do not like to lose. My wife will tell you, okay, when she's slapping me around in a game of Uno, I am seriously upset because I do not like to lose. I like to compete, right? And I like to be on the winning end when I am competing. Michael Thomas is the same way. The man only knows one speed. He only knows straightforward. He only knows 100%. And that's why we have an appreciation for Michael Thomas. That's why we love him so much. And not to mention, he catches everything you throw at him. But the question has never been about Mike Thomas's talent. It always has been about the health. Can he stay healthy? Can he put it all together in order for him to have a productive season? Now, I think at this stage and at this time, and based on the depth and based on the roster that the New Orleans Saints have at the wide receiver position, nobody is looking for Michael Thomas to be that 1,700-yard receiver he was back in 2019. But if Mike T can give you a little bit of 2016 Mike T, when he was out there, catching about 1,089 yards or close to 1,100, we'll be okay with that, right? Because you have a supporting cast. It's not like the days of old when it was him and, Traquan Smith around this thing, which Dennis Allen had some high praise for him. But that's another story for another day. Michael Thomas, once again, he has a supporting cast. He has Chris Olave. He has Rashid Shaheed. He has James Washington. He has Brian Edwards. I have the Packy Man. Say who that?
Who that?
All right. I mean, he has a whole arsenal of weapons, right, around him. So he doesn't have to be that number one guy. He doesn't have to be that dominant force that he once was. I mean, he can be a number one guy, but he doesn't have to be that dominant force. And I think that this is the year that everything comes together for Mike T. This is the year where everything is just going to come together. I mean, the guy deserves a level of good luck, and good fortune. And I hope that he gets it. I'm knocking on wood because I want him to not get hurt. I want him to be the Michael Thomas that we all know that's just an absolute beast every time he touches the field. But, of course, the guy that's throwing him the ball is Derek Carr. Derek Carr, the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. They bring him over from the Raiders, but he has all that talent. He has all that ability, we know, but we know it means absolutely nothing if you don't have an offensive line. And once again, we know that Andrews Pete got hurt, right? He's dealing with a quad injury. The guy that they brought in to replace him, Trey Turner, is on IR. I mean, he tore his quad. God bless that brother. I hope he has a speedy recovery. But the offensive line of the New Orleans Saints need to have some level of stability, right? I mean, Trevor Penning, he's starting to learn. Dennis Allen talked about him saying that he's much further ahead than he was the last time they saw him, which is a really good thing. And you also have guys like Ryan Ramczyk. Cesar Ruiz had a good solid season. He's trying to build on that. The Saints then signed his 5th-year option, so it's looking like Cesar Ruiz is a break it, make it or break it year. But Erik McCoy, the center, has been really, really good for the New Orleans Saints since he came into the league. I want to say back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And, he has emerged, as one of the top players on the team and definitely a leader on the offensive line. And the media talked to him a little bit about emerging to be that leader.
Honestly, I'm not saying this as a negative, but I've been through 6 different quarterbacks since Drew left. So I feel like that's transitioning is kind of easy for me now. At first it was hard right after Drew left, but now I'm like, come on, let's get it rolling. We're ready. So
Erik McCoy understands the assignment. Years ago when he first got into the league, he had Drew Brees to be, his guy. It made the transition from college to the pros much easier. And, once Drew Brees retired, you got about 5 or 6 starting quarterbacks. So that is, 6 different tendencies that you have to learn. And Erik McCoy finally feels, that Derek Carr being the quarterback, that's kind of a smooth transition. A guy who is a veteran, a guy who has been around, has started many games in the league. And, he has somebody that can be able to work with him. And also, him being that leader, stepping up, being that vocal leader, a little bit of his personality is showing in this interview. Make sure that you go and check that out. But Erik McCoy understands that the offensive line has to be intact. He understands that these guys have to be able to put it all together in order for them to be able to hold up Derek Carr. And guys like Andrews Pete, getting hurt is not helping the cause here. You know what I mean? But it also gives a lot of these young guys opportunities to be able to step up and make some plays. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this offensive line can be, because it's been a long time since the New Orleans Saints had a dominant offensive line. Now, they always had pieces that had the capability of being dominant, but it has not come together over the last couple of years. Hopefully they can get back to form. Also, we got to talk a little bit about quarterback Jake Haener. Jake Haener coming out of Fresno State. I like to call him Sexy Jake, of course, because of the pitches and everything like that, But Jake Haener, is really making some waves around training camp. He's had some really good, solid practices, and Dennis Allen talked a little bit about Jake Haener.
Yeah, look, I mean, kid's a smart kid, and he works extremely hard at it. And so, look, he's got talent, he's got intelligence, he works really hard. You got those characteristics, you're going to improve.
I want people to understand something about Jake Haener. Jake Haener was a really good quarterback at Fresno State. Really, really good. He was a guy who completed 70% of his passes and was a really good, solid quarterback. I say that the only reason why Jake Haener wasn't a top 2-round draft pick probably was because of his height. I think that if he was maybe 6'2" or 6'3", I think that we wouldn't even be having a conversation. I think that this guy probably would have been one of the top quarterbacks in the draft, because, he has all the talent and all the tools that you need to be a solid quarterback in the National Football League. Now, I'm not going to say starter, but solid quarterback. And the Saints are lucky to have a guy like this, because this is more than likely going to be your backup. I don't expect Jameis Winston to continue to be a backup for the New Orleans Saints. Eventually, he's going to want to go out there and test the market and see what he can do as a starting quarterback. So that leaves Jake Haener. And you want to be excited about what you're hearing about Jake Haener, because for what I just said, because this could possibly be the guy that you're relying on if something was to happen to Derek Carr. I'm knocking on wood when I say that. But it's good to have a guy that's learning. He got 2 veterans that has started in a lot of games that he can learn from. And it's good that the game is slowing down for him and he's understanding and grasping the playbook. That is what you want to hear. You want to hear that your rookies, the guys that you're signing, the guys that you invested in, are stepping up and rising to the occasion. And Jake Haener is going out there and he's performing extremely well. He's a smaller guy, and I understand all that, but it don't matter. All that matters is, number one, is your heart, and number 2 is the skills that you possess. And I think that he has heart, and I definitely feel like he has skills. So it's good to hear that Jake Haener is understanding the assignment also. And finally, the defensive line. Let's talk a little bit about the defensive line. We talked about it on the last episode. There are a lot of new faces on the defensive line. One of the newer faces, we talked last episode about Brian Persee. If you didn't check that out, go and check out next episode. And, he is a guy that is really out there performing well. He has an arsenal of moves. He's a guy that's ahead of the curve when it comes to his pass rushing style. When it from rookies, everybody that's been with the team, seasoned veterans that's lining up against him, talks about how Persee is so impressive. But there's another guy, that the Saints drafted, and Isaiah Foskey, a guy who is the all-time leader. Think about this. This guy is the all-time leader in sacks at Notre Dame. Do you understand the rich tradition of Notre Dame? Like, this is a school that is well known out here in these streets. And this guy is the all-time sack leader. And now he comes to the New Orleans Saints, and, it's a little bit of an adjustment, right? From the college to the pros. So the media asked Isaiah Foskey about how is he making this transition.
It's like pretty much the same thing. Everything is still football. I'm still pass rushing. I'm still taking on the tackle. The only thing like big difference is how the speed of the running back, the new different type of plays the NFL runs. Not every play is like what college runs. The NFL has different plays that they run.
I like Isaiah Foskey a lot. I think that he's a high motor guy. He's a guy that can punch the ball out. He was known for that. I constantly say he reminds me of DeMarcus Ware. I think that his style, the way that he plays the defensive end position, it reminds me a lot of DeMarcus Ware. DeMarcus Ware was one of those guys, you had to make sure that you holding that ball really, really tight, because one move that DeMarcus Ware was known for was when an offensive lineman would try to push him back, he would reach his arm out and bat the ball out of the hand of the quarterback, forcing a fumble. But guess what? Not only is that a fumble, but that counts as a sack as well. So DeMarcus Ware was the king of that, and Isaiah Foskey has some of those skills. So we know that, he had maybe like 6 forced fumbles when he was in college, which is absolutely insane. It tells you that this guy has something. I talk about these hybrid defensive ends, the guys that are a little bit smaller than some of the larger defensive ends. They have that ability to be able to chase down some of these athletic quarterbacks, and they're able to get away from these bigger offensive linemen more quickly. And I think that Isaiah Foskey is going to be one of those guys that really makes some noise. I think that he, along with Carl Granderson, Peyton Turner, hopefully Peyton Turner, I think that these guys can be good complements of each other. I like what I see in Carl Granderson. I think that, he took some steps forward last year, and I think that he's going to be able to take an even bigger step forward this year. Peyton Turner, we've seen some of that athleticism. He had a good little stretch before he got injured in that Rams game. And Isaiah Foskey learning from all those other guys on the line, the Cam Jordans, the Tano Passignos, guys like that have been around, seen it, done it. Colin Saunders is another guy that he can learn from. So by him learning from those guys who have been in big games, who have taken part in big moments, that have made big plays in big moments, I think that it will help him to develop to be a solid defensive end. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. I ask that you subscribe to the channel and make sure that you hit that like button. Previous episodes of the State of the Saints podcast are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Anchor FM. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at TJAYJones8. At least I think his name is called Twitter still, or maybe X. Follow me on X, all right? Follow me on X, TJAYJones8. And also, I just want to say thank you all for supporting the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you for supporting the content. I apologize to all the Andres Pete sympathizers out there crying and boo-hooing on social media, all up under my mentions, about Andres Pete. Miss me with that nonsense. I just wanted to let that be known right there. Look, I know how y'all do it. Let me save y'all the time. TJ, you ain't a real fan. TJ, you ain't real. TJ, you ain't this and that and the third. Miss me with all that. Andres Pete ain't it, bruh. I'm sorry. I hate to tell y'all that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I know it's towards the end of the show, but I had to let that be known, all right? So sorry, not sorry. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?